Hi, and welcome to Stamp with Ginny. Today I'm going to share with you this Perpetual Calendar Card Book using the Share What You Love Designer Series paper. So let me set this aside and we'll get started. Okay, I'm going to start with stamping. I'm going to be using the Letters for You stamp set. These are great letters that are nice and large and will fill my space. I'm using the Tranquil Tide, and I'm going to be starting on the left edge of the cardstock with the S because I want to make sure I have enough room for the word cards, and I want to leave this left-hand margin a little larger due to the binding of the book. So I'm going to be stamping the word backwards. And of course, it never hurts to have the word in front of you so that you do it in the right order. A tip I learned from frosting cakes years ago. And there's the A, and finally the C. And I'm just eyeballing this. You could put this on your Stamparatus and stamp them all at once if you're doing multiple cards. And like I said, you want enough room here on the left so that the binding won't hit the word itself, and I think I'll be okay there. Okay, I've got my word finished stamping, and I'm going to bring in my Pear Pizzazz piece that measures 6 by 2 3/4 and my basic black cardstock piece that measures 6 by 3. And I'm going to start adhering and building my layers for my focal point. I'm going to put the Pear Pizzazz on first, and the two edges will butt up nicely, and then the top and bottom has a little bit of a margin, and if you've got a little bit of an edge showing, that's okay. You can trim that off once you get it onto the card book front if you would like. The main thing is you want a nice straight edge on the left. There we go. So I've got the word done, and I'm going to bring in my front of my book. This happens to measure 7 3/4 by 6 inches, and I'm ready to adhere this. And I am going to place this on my grid paper so I can line it up nice and straight. And I'm going to bring it down about an inch, inch and a half from the top. And as you can see, I'm lining up the left edge, because I can take my paper snips and trim off this side if it doesn't line up pretty. At this point, I'm going to take my Bitty Blooms punch, and I am going to punch 3 little flowers out of So Saffron cardstock, and I am going to adhere them in different locations on these letters, just tacking them on. I wanted a little pop of color, and I liked the idea of the flowers to go along with the book itself. So I'm tacking those on with some multi-purpose, and you can use glue dots too if you'd like. And then I am going to wait to add the accessory here on the top, or the pearls, until my book is assembled. So I'm ready to set this aside, and I'm ready to work on the inside pages. Now this book contains a pocket for each month, and so I'm going to need 6 full sheets of the Share What You Love Designer Series paper. And I am going to set this on my scoreboard, and I am first going to score it at the 6-inch mark, and then I'm going to turn it a quarter of a turn, and I am going to score it at the 7 3/4 inch mark. And I'm going to repeat that on all 6 pages. Now you're going to find on patterns that are directional, you will want to decide which part is going to be facing upward and which part is going to be upside down, such as this paper with the words. My monthly cardstock piece is going to be here, so it's not going to show a great deal, so I'm okay with that. Once I've got all 6 pages done, I'm ready to move my scoreboard to the side. Now, as you can see, I have 2 pages here that duplicate each other, so I can fix that by flipping one over so that they're not the same, and having different patterns in my book. At this point, you are going to you're going to fold each and every page on the score line. So I'm going to fold it in half on that score line, and then I am going to fold it up. And what this is doing is creating this pocket right here. And you want the pocket on the outside So you're going to fold it outward like you want it to be, and then use your bone folder to rub it tight. And you're going to repeat that on all 6 pages. Okay, I'm ready to bring my pages back in, and I can decide what order I want them in. And if I want to change the patterns, it's simply a matter of flipping that paper over and folding it again. And that way I've got this ability to make the patterns different and organize them the way I'd like to. There we go. At this point, I am going to use the binding machine. Okay, I've got my comb binder here, and I'm going to walk you through the steps so that you know what you're looking at. You want to make sure your pages and your card front and your back are in the right order, and then you want to make sure that you're punching them in the correct order so that they'll line up when you put your book together. So I'm starting with the back cover here, working my way backwards. And I'm going to slide this in. I'm making sure I butt up against the side and it's tight against the back. And then I'm going to punch. And on this one I want my open pocket to the back. And this part is a little trickier because you want to make sure it's all the way in. And since there's 2 layers there, you want to make sure you're catching them all. And I'm going to repeat that for all the pages. And as you can see, I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. So on this one, I want to make sure that's going in this way so that it lines up with the pages, and I'm going to punch. Now I'm ready to add the comb, and this goes on the top. Now I'm using a 1.5 inch comb for this book, but if you like to be able to stuff more cards in it, you can use a 2-inch comb. It looks kind of weird to start with, but once you fill it with your cards, you're going to be in great shape. And I'm going to set these pages on the comb one at a time, being careful to catch all the holes. Okay, there's the last page, and as you can see, it's the back of the book because I've worked upside down, and I'm ready to release the lever and bind my book. Now, the bind is a little bit longer than what you need, as you can see, so all you have to do is take your paper snips and snip that off. At this point, I can take my pick a tool, and I like to use the clay end for this, and I can pick up those Share What You Love pearls, and I'm using the green for this one because I want it to match. And I'm adding that to one of each of the flowers. And now the next step is going to be adding the monthly pages to this. So let me show you how I did that. Okay, I've got the pages here, and I've printed them off on our Whisper White cardstock at my local printer if your home printer doesn't do that. And I'm simply going to eyeball this on my trimmer. So I am going to put this in on my trimmer, and I want about 1/8 of an inch showing. And so you can either cut directly on the line, or you can cut about 1/8 of an inch off. Be aware when you print this off, it is going to be a little different on each page. This is not my PDF, and so trying to measure and cut all the same doesn't work, which is why I'm eyeballing it here. So I am setting it on the trimmer. I'm using this groove here as a visual, and I am placing my cutting blade and trimming. If this bothers you, you can definitely cut on the line and it'll be fine. And you can even mat these if you prefer, but I didn't feel like adding the bulk to the book with the mat was necessary. So I'm going to take these two, and I'm going to bring my book back. And on this first page here, I am going to take the January, and I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this, and then place it onto my book there. And as you can see, a lot of the pattern doesn't show, so like I said, on that page that's upside down. I was okay with that small area of Grapefruit Grove being upside down because I wanted the flowers to be right side up. So there we go, adding February, and I'm going to continue until the entire book is full. And now the final page, December. And my book is complete. Let me show you the original again. I think these are great gifts. And since this uses 7 pieces of the designer series paper, you could use the extra patterns to create cards for all occasions that fit inside these pages for your family and friends. And of course, you can write your dates that are important with the names and tuck your card in here to store them as you create. If you'd like any of these products, feel free to stop by my online store. You can get there from my blog, Stamp with Jini. Thanks for joining me.